So Dragon Ball Super's Universal Survival arc that featured the Tournament of Power has now officially concluded. The English dub that was formerly airing on Toonami every Saturday night at 11 p.m. is finally over. It's finally done, and before we begin, I do want to get your initial thoughts in the comment section below about the voice acting that you guys saw from the English dub, the dialogue changes, and everything that we've seen come from the Universe Survival arc, as I'm going to give you guys my thoughts as to how I felt, not only about the conclusion of what we've seen with Goku and Jiren, but the entirety of the Universe Survival arc as a whole. Now, it's crazy to me because in March of 2020, right, is going to mark 2 years since Dragon Ball Super officially ended in March of 2018. So, on a technical level, we're just about a little over a year and a half since Dragon Ball Super initially ended, and I miss it, and I know you guys miss it as well. Dragon Ball Super never ended, right? Dragon Ball Super always continued through the form of the manga, right? The Galactic Patrol Prisoner arc and all of the events surrounding Moro and Goku and Vegeta and the Daikaio. So Dragon Ball Super never technically ended its story because it continued through the form of Dragon Ball Super Broly and of course through the acts of Moro. But now that we've seen the conclusion of the Dragon Ball Super anime, I will say the first thing I want to add on is the fact that, just like many of you, the dialogue changes from the dub is something that really bothered me ever since the beginning of the Universe Survival arc. Now, we've seen this be done during the Universe 6 versus Universe 7 tournament. We've seen this go down during the Future Trunks story arc, but I would have to say none more effective than what we've seen go down during the Tournament of Power. Now, I think we can all agree that the recruitment process ever since the beginning of 2017 with Goku having to recruit everybody to be a part of this tournament was a little uncalled for, so that really dragged on, and I don't really think that a lot of people even cared of seeing Goku recruit Krillin or Goku recruit Tien. It was just boring garbage, so to me, it was what it was. If you guys enjoyed that, then hey, that's on you. And by the way, we're also going to have a massive like goal for this video. If you guys missed Dragon Ball Super, hit this video up with a like, and hopefully we'll get to about 2,000 likes. And again, if you guys are new, hit that subscribe button and turn on all notifications because I have some big things coming on the channel in the next couple of weeks. But nonetheless, once we got to the Tournament of Power, I think one of the biggest gripes that the community had were two things, right? The frame rate issues and the dialogue changes. I felt as if from the beginning, it was really strange hearing how Belmont referred to Toppo as top and how Ultra Instinct was referred to as Autonomous Ultra Instinct. There were certain things that really didn't mesh. Now, when looking at the overall structure, they kept it the same essentially, and I will say, I don't think I was a fan of Damian Mills' portrayal of Frieza during the Tournament of Power. I felt as if there wasn't as much emotion as we would have seen from someone like, for example, Chris Ayres, and although Frieza in the TOP from Damian Mills was tolerable, at the same time, I don't think, in my own opinion, that it was as effective as it should have been. Now, of course, I'm not a fan of the dialogue change to Toppo's name to Top. Of course, a lot of people had complaints about Dispo's voice, about Belmont's voice. They felt as if they were a little bit too, quote, ghetto-ish. I really didn't mind it. As a matter of fact, I actually got a lot more adjusted to their voices over time, but I can see why a lot of people had an issue with this. They had an issue with, you know, Dispo having to tell Hit, hey man, I caught you slipping and stuff, so it just felt a little weird per se, and it's always dub fans versus sub fans, which again, shouldn't be the case because we're all a fan of the same product, right? But I'm curious if you guys are a fan of the sub or the dub. Let me know in detail in the comment section below. Are you guys for team sub or team dub? But I don't think that towards the end of the TOP, was it necessarily as bad as maybe the beginning or the middle. I really enjoyed seeing Patrick and Sean Schemmel basically voice Jiren and Goku throughout their entire battles, especially leaning more towards episode 129, 130, and 131. It was exceptional, and it was amazing to see how well Sean Schemmel did, and I really don't think that people should look down on Sean Schemmel as a talent, because I felt as if he brought it for Goku's character, and as did the voice actor of Jiren, which I will say Jiren's voice in the beginning really got some negativity on Twitter, and I don't necessarily know why, but nevertheless, I personally feel that the Goku character, the Jiren character, even the Toppo character, the Dispo character, they really had tremendous voice acting behind what they did. Minus the dialogue changes, I felt as if the dialogue changes were complete garbage. I also felt that Chris Sabat's Vegeta could have been a little better. Now, the reason why I say this is because I am a huge fan of the original Funimation dub for Dragon Ball Z when we heard Chris Sabat portray Majin Vegeta and the Saiyan Saga Vegeta. Like, everything that Chris Sabat I felt like did in the original Dragon Ball Z when it came to his voice being a bit more raspy and Vegeta sounding a bit more aggressive, I really wanted to see that be done here. And I understand that Sabat's voice probably isn't up to par to how it was before, or maybe he doesn't want to put any strain on his voice, but for me as a fan, I've always preferred the original Funimation version of Vegeta's voice from Chris Sabat as opposed to what we've seen in Super, but that's just my opinion. I felt as if his overall acting skills were okay, they were good, they weren't the absolute best I've ever seen from the character or from the actor, but nevertheless, it is passable. Now, in terms of Android 17, Gohan, the voice actors that portrayed these characters were great, I think, but when watching the dub, it really does bring you back to those moments where every Saturday/Sunday, all of us within the community would be tweeting out the episode, talking about the episode, breaking down every episode, talking about the episode preview, and you know, as a Dragon Ball fan, it really brought me back to those days where we were all covering Super and having a good time doing it, but also dating back to when I was a kid, when I was originally watching Toonami growing up with the Funimation dub, and just having a blast sitting there as a kid, just watching the show that I really grew up to love. So, the other thing was the frame rate issue. Now, a lot of people were wondering as to why this was. I would have to say it was for epilepsy purposes, and the fact that the anime itself towards the end was so intense, especially with the UI battles against Jiren. I'm sure that scenes like that could ultimately cause epilepsy, for someone to catch a seizure. So to avoid all of that, to avoid someone in catching a seizure or having any sort of like health risk in watching this, they kind of slowed that down. But I also felt like by slowing down the frame rates, it really messed up the episodes, because we all remember back about, I don't know, a year and a half ago, nearly 2 years at this point, we saw when Dragon Ball Super was around, it never really had an issue by slowing down the frame rates, because a lot of us were watching it and a lot of us were fine in doing so. So I really found it weird that they slowed these things down, especially for episode 109, 110, 130, and 131, and the fact that we saw how different it was when it came down to the fluidity and the way everything went down. But hopefully when Dragon Ball Super does come around again in the form of the anime, which we know it will, and I'm not sure if they're going to announce the anime first or the new movie that they're working on right now, but you can best believe that when Dragon Ball Super does come back, hopefully at that point, we don't have to wait about 2 years for Funimation or someone to dub Dragon Ball as it's about to conclude, because by then hopefully we'll have a simulcast. That way we can actually get the English dub or respective dub, whichever dub you guys prefer, retrospectively within like the week of its original airing. So for me as a fan, I really enjoyed going back and just watching these battles against Universe 11, against Universe 6, watching some of the other respective universes compete. It was really fun to go back and just take a look at these things, even though I really do hope that down the line they improve on sticking to the actual narrative when it comes down to the script and the way the sub did things, because there were so many mistakes made. As an example, everyone remembers the infamous meme on Twitter when the Grand Priest announced Hit's elimination and stated that Hit from Universe 11 had been eliminated, even though he's not from Universe 11, he's from Universe 6. So simple things like that really do throw everything off, even though it's not really that big of a deal. I will say I miss Dragon Ball Super, and after watching the English dub for the TOP, it really brought back so many memories, and it makes me kind of wonder as to what's going to happen next time, the next time we do get the Dragon Ball Super anime, even though technically, right, we have the promotional anime for Super Dragon Ball Heroes, and whether you like it or not, it's still there, and it's still fun to watch from time to time. It's definitely not the same as we've seen with the TOP or with Dragon Ball Super Broly, but when Dragon Ball Super does end up coming back, it's going to be spectacular, hopefully, and they'll adapt changes to the English dub and further sticking to the main narrative as opposed to making unwarranted changes which really by the end don't make any sense to begin with. And to be honest, until then, anything can happen, but right now the ongoing story for Dragon Ball Super is with the events surrounding Moro, which I will say they're taking their time in doing, because if you guys remember, Jump Festa just about a year ago almost, Toriyama himself came out and he is currently working on the next, quote, Dragon Ball movie and other things behind the scenes that right now some of us don't really know as to what, but the main thing they're trying to focus in on right now is the manga, to in which if you guys have not seen my reviews and discussions on it, you guys can find those videos down below. And can you imagine how spectacular it's going to look when Dragon Ball Super comes back and they adapt the Moro arc in the form of an anime? That's going to be amazing, but this also begs the question, what about the Dragon Ball Super Broly movie? Are they going to adapt Broly in the form of some type of arc in the anime, or are they going to completely just skip the movie and jump right into the Moro arc? I'm not too sure about that, but the Tournament of Power is over, and I want to get your personal favorite episodes down in the comment section below from the English dub. If you guys want to compare English dub to the original sub, I guess you can by making comparisons, and there have been a few things that I've noticed that either piqued my interest or just completely threw me off, but I really felt like there were times, or at least certain episodes, where the voice acting really wasn't up to par, or certain things didn't really live up to expectations, but then there were other episodes that really were done well, and the voice acting was done well, the dialogue and the overall script was the exact same as it was for the sub, minus a few dialogue changes, such as another example being when Jiren said that he doesn't trust dragons for whatever reason, and that was a meme on Twitter for about a week, in the fact that people were posting Jiren memes and the fact that he hated dragons and he didn't trust dragons, and he never once said that in the sub. Again, it's a very small thing, but even then, it kind of threw a lot of people off in the fact that people were kind of wondering what the heck he was talking about, even though the reference is going back to how broken Jiren was inside. This whole notion of strength being absolute actually stemmed from the beginning, but when Jiren went along to say that he didn't trust dragons, it really became a meme. It was funny, and it was interpreted very differently by people in the fact that they were wondering as to what exactly he was talking about. So going forward, I really hope that they don't do these unnecessary dialogue changes in the future, because to me, it doesn't seem to make any sense in changing stuff that's already on the script. So I feel as if, yeah, I mean, we're all looking to have like the absolute most perfect dub in the world, and I really don't think that exists for possibly any other anime, because when you look at the sub and the dub for each respective anime, they do have their changes and they do have different things that are adapted that people favor or heavily disliked. And with Dragon Ball Super, for me as a fan, I've been watching these episodes on and off ever since Dragon Ball ended in 2018, and being the fact that Crunchyroll provides this, I was watching a lot of these episodes subbed on Crunchyroll, and once we got to the Universe Survival arc, I was really curious as to how Sean Schemmel, Chris Sabat, and all of the respective voice actors were going to do when we finally got to the point where Vegeta was going to use his final explosion, when Toppo was going to transform into the God of Destruction candidate that he was supposed to be for Universe 11. When we had all of these incredible moments, it really made me stop and wonder, and I would say sure, I'm satisfied as a fan when looking back on this, because this wasn't the absolute worst dub they could have done. Again, I felt as if Damian Mills could have portrayed a more emotionally furious Frieza than how we saw in the Tournament of Power for the English dub. I felt as if Chris Sabat should have done the raspier Vegeta. I've been saying that ever since the beginning, but if that's the way Chris wants to do it, then that's fine. I mean, I think that there were moments in the TOP where Vegeta had some great dialogue and great voice acting behind it, but at the same time, I would have to say that, in my opinion, Sean Schemmel did a much better job with Goku throughout the TOP than Chris Sabat did with Vegeta, because I felt that there was more emotion being put into the Goku character by Sean Schemmel than how Chris Sabat did with Vegeta. I mean, there were moments with Vegeta where it was good to see, but I just think that this dub, when looking back on it, it was really fun, it was really enjoyable, and as a Dragon Ball fan, when you look back, hopefully you guys are going to get this on Blu-ray when it comes out, because I think that hopefully they won't slow down the frame rates. They'll be able to provide you with both the English dub and the sub, but until then, after watching this, it really made me think back as to when Dragon Ball Super was running, because we all had a great time watching, and I think that this is only a step going forward, because once Dragon Ball Super does return, we're going to be having yet another blast once again. But in the end, I want to get your thoughts about the Universe Survival Arc. Again, I didn't really care too much about the beginning. I tried watching it, and to be honest, I just really had no interest in seeing Gohan spar with Krillin, and seeing Master Roshi be recruited with Tien and all that kind of stuff. Like, to me, it didn't really mesh well at all, but the actual Tournament of Power battle was something that really settled in. But I want to get your thoughts and your feedback down in the comment section below. What are your initial thoughts on the English dub for the finale of Dragon Ball Super? What are your thoughts on the future of the Dragon Ball Super property? When do you guys think we'll see the return of Dragon Ball Super in the form of an anime? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Again, thank you all so much for your time. Thank you all so much for watching. If, of course, you guys are new to this channel, I do encourage you guys to click the little notification icon, the little bell icon. That way you guys never miss a single video. In the next couple of weeks, we are going to be dropping some big videos that I really hope you guys sit back and enjoy. So again, if you guys love Dragon Ball and miss Dragon Ball genuinely, hit this video up with a like. Consider hitting that subscribe button, guys. Tune back in for the next video. I can't wait to see what they have planned down the pipeline, to be honest. But then again, I would have to put my faith in waiting, because I would rather wait for a good product rather than a rushed product to begin with. So maybe Funimation fixes things down the line when it comes to its frame rate issues and its dialogue changes. I would say stick to the script instead of just making unwarranted or unnecessary changes, but that's just me. So again, thank you all so much for your time. Thank you all so much for watching. Tune back in for the next video, and I'll be seeing you all down the comment section below. Have a great day, everybody. Peace.
This is the Galactic Emperor of the Universe, and of course I'm here to tell you to subscribe to UnrealEntGaming.
Also follow UnrealEntGaming on these social media platforms to stay connected at all times. And if you don't, then very soon you will all be dead! Oh, did someone say UnrealEntGaming? Oh my god.
The fuck's up, on? Put on some clothes!
Well, why don't you put on any clothes?
What? I don't need clothes. Jesus Christ, that's huge! What, Broly?
Frieza.
Uh-oh.
Prepare to die!
UnrealEntGaming, but watching your video, all lots of likes, or Bill will turn you into chocolate!
Vados, get over here! Tell these mortals that I'm the biggest UnrealEntGaming fan. This is my moment. I'm a part of his notification squad. Universe 7 can have all the fun. I just want the food.
And don't forget to leave a comment on this video. Show some love for the best community on YouTube.
Caca!